everybody to our PDA Town Hall for July 20th, 2025. Look, these are very difficult days in our society, and we understand that. But we have a cause to celebrate here at PDA, and a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is in the wake of this fantastic news that we received from Arizona 7th, which is the great victory of Adelita Grijalva. And PDA, I very much believe, was able to produce an approach to a local election that was very, very similar to the approach that has been very heralded around the country appropriately that DSA had in the New York mayoral primary. And I'll talk about that in a moment, but first I do want to welcome everybody to the town hall. And we are thrilled to have Adelita Grijalva with us. We'll be introducing her in about 13 minutes. As everybody from Team Adelita who's on the call will see, our room tends to fill up, and therefore we don't like to bring our featured guest on in the first 10 minutes because about half the audience hasn't arrived yet. And in the second hour, we're going to feature somebody who we also hope everybody will learn a whole lot more about across the country, and in Tennessee in particular. People might remember that Representative Green voted against the big, beautiful bill. He was a Republican in Metro Nashville and instantly resigned. He didn't just say he wasn't running next time, he instantly resigned. And so we're going to have a special election in Tennessee's 7th District. The primary is going to be either late September, October, with the general in December. And the split last time was 58-39. It's a gerrymandered district to favor Republicans. But we recall early on, after Trump was elected a second time down in Florida, there were special elections for Republican-held seats, and the Democrats gained about 10 percentage points in each district. If the candidate, the Democratic nominee, is able to achieve that this time, we will flip a district and it will be massive political news. And we are very excited that a great Tennessee progressive champion, Aftyn Behn, is one of the Democrats who has stepped up to run in the election. And I think if you look at the media from Nashville, I think she's probably the favored to win the Democratic nomination. And she will be our featured guest in the second hour. So we are really thrilled about that. And in the first hour, we're going to focus on the victory in Arizona 7th. And as I did mention just a moment or two ago, I've done a lot of work, and people who know me from PDA know that I've been quite close to what was the outgoing DSA national leadership, that is Democratic Socialists of America, from before last summer, and with Maria Svart and David DeHalday, and I knew what their operation was like. And I always told them, and they told me, that PDA and DSA, for whatever their differences there might be on nuances of policy, when it came to running grassroots campaign, we pretty much had the same model. And of course, the DSA model in New York City was heralded for lifting Zohran Mamdani to victory. And in terms of electoral strategy, tactics, and practice, I think what we achieved nationally, collectively as PDA, in support of Adelita's campaign, was very, very similar in form and structure to what DSA achieved. And of course, we now want to bring this next to Nashville. It may be easier to do this in special elections than when they all come at once. But remember, in the House elections of 2026, and of course, PDA plays very strong in Democratic primaries, those are spread out across the calendar. So we can deploy our national resources in the way that we did in Arizona 7th in a multiplicity of campaigns across the next year. And I think there's something to what PDA does and what DSA does. And I'll just say two things at the top, then a few thoughts at the top of this week, top of this town hall about other controversies in American society. But if you think about what DSA does and what PDA do that's similar, we don't rely on large IE expenditures. We are a grassroots, face-to-face, door-to-door, and phone call to real live person organizations. And the other thing we do is we partner with labor. And in both cases, well, DSA less so in New York City, but us in Arizona 7th, the partnership with labor, who also, of course, the grassroots labor does exactly what I described: door-to-door, face-to-face, phone call, person-to-person. And that, not just large, certainly not large-scale buys on TV ads and digital influencer blitzes. No, talking to people about issues, as the Grijalva campaign did so exemplary, is exactly what PDA is about. And we're going to bring this model across the entire country through PDA going forward. Look, very briefly, look, the thing about the Epstein scandals that are going on, I think it's people expect to see this will finally be the thing that takes down Donald Trump. And, who knows, maybe it will be. But the level of scandal and just the absolutely amoral behavior from the current president over what we've all known about for decades, and of course, in a focused way in the last decade, since 2015, has never succeeded in taking him down. And, I don't know how much damage this will do to Donald Trump, but I think the essential thing for progressives is for us not to rely on anything like that happening. We have public policies and ethics and morals that are clean. They're for the benefit of the people. And that's what we need to emphasize. And that's what I really believe we need to focus on. Yes, we should all have constructive dialogue about whatever the news of the day is every single week, of course. But in terms of what PDA will be about, we are not going to take our eyes off of the issues that Adelita Grijalva elevated in her campaign, that Zohran Mamdani elevated in his campaign about affordability, the real experience of working people, the vast majority of Americans improving their lives. And yes, there are in any large group of people in the world, there always are going to be turn out to be some bad eggs, and they'll do rotten things. But yes, the progressive movement is very much in marked contrast to the establishment big money Democrats who ended up in coordination with Epstein, and of course, people like Donald Trump and their ethics. So yes, we have to be clean and we have to be clear. We have to stand for ethical politics, morality, yes, but primarily have it be reflected in the delivery of public policy that serves the interests of the vast majority of the people in the country. That's the winning hand for progressives, the combination of the two, but keeping it positive, letting the country know that there is an alternative political formulation that's supported by the great labor movement across the country, by organizations like PDA, by great candidates like, and soon to be Congress people like Adelita Grijalva, and of course, the late Raul Grijalva, and that we're substantively different than what's been going on, and we're going to provide a better deal for the American people, to take at least that word from Franklin Roosevelt and cite it again. With that, I want to, as always, toss to Donna Smith for her thoughts for the week, then to Mike Fox, quick PDA updates, and then in the introduction of Congressperson-to-be Adelita Grijalva. Donna Smith, how you doing?
Good, Alan. Thank you. And Adelita, oh my God, we're so excited and so happy about this. Alan and I just spoke about this together about how much this meant, not only the win, but the way the win happened, and how delighted PDA is to still be connected with the family of Grijalva. But Alan and I also talked about something. I know all of you are waiting for the next episode of Positively Progressive, our podcast. And Alan and I were also talking about another project that's kind of close to my heart, and I'm going to just lay it out there. I want to start collecting the history of the progressive organizing movement in this country. I think that no one has really done it from the perspective of what PDA has seen over the last 20 years. And I think it would be really wonderful to do that. And I think Positively Progressive might be able to play an important role in that. I want to start doing more interviews like I did with Mimi Kennedy, in hearing her experience with PDA and the campaigns that have gone forward. Let's hear from more of PDA's heroes, PDA's progressive organizers. Dan O'Neill is somebody that I just adore and admire from the tips of my toes for how many years he has spent organizing, sometimes in some really rough conditions, Sam. And you know that. I mean, we need to record that for one another. These are very successful things that we have done together as an organization. Not many survive 20 years. Not many make it this far to mature. And then, so watch for that. It's going to be coming. Some of you are going to be on the invite list for being interviewed. But I also want the other part of Positively Progressive to focus on our future and this transition to younger generations. And that's where I'll close my remarks for today, because I really want to hear from Adelita. If you look behind me and you see the picture of me and Adelita's dad, Raul Grijalva, I don't want to see a new picture like that. I don't want a new picture with Adelita. She's beautiful and I'd love to meet her in person someday. What I want to see is her picture with Alan, behind Alan. I love the fact that this is such a beautiful, clear representation of the passage of generations and progressive power. And Adelita is going to bring so many ideas that her dad hadn't even thought of yet to Congress and move us forward in ways that we haven't imagined yet. So thank you all. And thank you for helping inspire what I think will be a wonderful project for us all as we go forward. And I think it'll be great for Positively Progressive. So Alan, thank you. And I can't wait to hear from Adelita.
Fantastic. And before we do, then and we're going to hear from so many people from Arizona. I'm going to run through the list of special guests we're going to have from people who worked on the campaign, again, talking about the consolidation and coordination between progressive organized labor and progressive Democrats of America going forward. And of course, we'll hear from Adelita first from the group. But right now, Mike Fox with our PDA to-dos for this week.
And can you hear me, Alan?
I can indeed, Mike.
Wonderful. Thank you all, everyone, for being here. I'm pumped about our speakers, so I will be brief. Our list of to-dos each and every week. Number one, revel in the fact that you're surrounded here by people who get it. Okay, each and every week, 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific, we are here to build this movement, to show solidarity with each other, to build positive energy for the upcoming week. So please, if you are typing in the chat, please keep your comments on topic and positive. If it gets to the point where it just becomes an incredible distraction while our speakers are on, we'll shut the chat down just while the speakers are speaking, just so that we show them the respect they've taken the time to be here. Let's stay focused on them, okay? To-do number two, please do take notes. We're going to be going over a substantial list of things we need to get done over the upcoming week, okay? So be prepared to take some notes. Now, time and treasure. Those are the two ways that we engage. Number one, time. Jump in the game in any way that you can. Our featured to do is always phone bank, phone bank, phone bank. We don't have an election on Tuesday, so we're not absolutely crazy on phone banking right now. But bottom line, if you've been phone banking with us and need a little bit of a breather, that's fine. New folks, we need new people today signing up to jump on the phone team with us, and let's keep this ball rolling via that activity, okay? If you don't see the link that's getting tossed in the chat, just go to pdamerica.org/volunteer, or just go to pdamerica.org and hit on the volunteer link right there, okay? Give us an hour. We'll make sure that your time is well used, okay? And then number two, from a treasure standpoint, it's always a nice balance there, time and treasure. We always focus on grassroots action, humans talking to humans first and foremost, but we do need to keep the lights on. So our goal on this call is always solidarity. We don't necessarily have a dollar goal. What we do have is solidarity goal. We've got 332 people right now, no doubt more are coming. If everybody on the call could just toss in even $1 just in solidarity with not only Adelita and candidates like her, but likewise with the rest of the team. We got folks who double dip all the time, make calls and give a little bit of money, okay? Anything you can do is wonderful. Just bottom line, all positive energy. Anything that you can do is greatly appreciated. And we'll take a look at where we're at on our goals at the top of the hour. Back to you, Alan.
Thank you so much, Mike. And before I introduce Adelita, I want to let everybody know that after Adelita, we'll be hearing from Cecilia Valdez, who's the chair of the Pima Area Federation of Labor, the AFL-CIO, Christian Bearden from Iron Workers Local 75, Maggie Acosta, Field Director for Workers' Power, and Stephen Valencia, co-chair of Arizona Jobs for Justice. Again, reflective of what I said earlier, this coalition between PDA and progressive organized labor to support a great progressive candidate, Adelita Grijalva. Adelita, I only have one question and a request for a framing as you speak, and say whatever, of course, is on your mind and you want to highlight. But first, remind us when the general election is in Arizona 7th, because obviously this was just the primary. And secondly, just what did you learn about the people of Arizona 7th throughout your campaign is something I'd love to hear you reflect on. But again, take it away wherever you want to go and welcome. We are so honored to have the Democratic nominee for Congress, the U.S. House of Representatives in Arizona 7th special election, Adelita Grijalva. Welcome.
Well, thank you. First of all, muchas gracias. Thank you all so much for all you did to help us get across this finish line in a historic way. We had 42 points, ahead, 62% of the vote in a five-way competitive race. And so PDA was a critical partner and supporter. We made 320,000 phone calls. The phone bankers who contributed the most time, most of them were PDA members. Mary Ellen Channing and Peter Deutsch, Michael Neal, Melissa Hale, Steve Orea, Grace Wagner, and Carmen Rodriguez. Those were some incredible volunteers that literally every time I would come up, I started to recognize their faces. And so I just want to say thank you sincerely for helping. Really, the general is September 23rd. We do have a Republican opponent, the same individual that ran against my dad in the last race. And so we're not going to take anything for granted. We don't know what is coming at us. And so we just have to be prepared, which is what we did in this race. In about 120 days, a little over, we were able to bring together coalitions that represented the values of this community, from the Sierra Club to PDA to teachers, labor. That it was really an overwhelming collective of people, and that is, I believe, very strongly what contributed to our win. And I think that this was an unusually high turnout for a primary, and I think that they're expecting that we're going to be at around 75,000 votes, which unfortunately is low in general, but high for this area. And so one of the things we're going to focus on is making sure people are more engaged in this. And I think that this support was district-wide. And so what we focused on are the issues. We focused on what is important to talk about. We didn't focus on a lot of the national attention, because that what was very, it could have been very distracting, because we had, People Magazine and Teen Vogue and all of these national outlets, just like we really felt like we had to fight for every single vote, and we did. And it was that door-to-door, shoe leather, old school campaigning that did this. And I know that many of you know that a lot better than I do, but I do believe very strongly that it is this coalition with my dad that created this space to have a progressive spot right in the heart of a purple and sometimes red state. And so I think that really what we need to do is just continue to do more of that. It wasn't about social media, although I think that that's great. I think engaging people is great. I feel like there were a lot of assumptions made about our role in this race, and what we really found out, and what was very, as the daughter of my dad, I didn't appreciate people wanting to change his history. It's like, it's okay for you to talk about your perspective, but don't try to, insert things that are blatantly false. And so what we heard from our community is that they didn't like that. They remember Grijalva established in this community, not establishment. And so I was very proud of that. I was very proud of the fact that we had some real keyboard warriors out there that were defending us on a regular basis. We had people going door to door and showing up. Many of them are here, the ones from Tucson. Cecilia Valdez was my preschool teacher at El Pueblo Neighborhood Center. Like we have like literally family. Steve, I have known, I cannot remember a time that I didn't know Steve. So for me, it's just, and then the partnerships with labor were critical. Like Christian, I think put up like half the signs in Tucson by himself. Like we just had people that were very motivated, and that's what made the difference. We engaged young people too. It was an intergenerational, multi-generational campaign. And my daughter, who's been, around campaigns her whole life, the bug didn't hit her until this campaign. And all of a sudden, her and her friends started Youth for Adelita. So I encourage you to go check that out if you want. They were talking to young people about the importance of registering to vote and getting attention. And the social media that we put out was organically shared. Like it was just like people who knew. And so I thought that was really important in this race. But when we're talking about the issues for working families, we're talking about saving public education, the Green New Deal, Medicare for all, Social Security, and fighting back and making sure that when you're doing those things, that they're based in fact. That's one of the frustrations that I have with social media in general, is that, yes, I agree, a lot of people get their news from there. It's not always accurate, and it's very misleading sometimes. And so what I think is really important is whatever we do in organizations, we make sure that everything that we share is factual. So when people share it, they hear the same thing, because in this environment right now, Trump can say a blatant lie and people take it as, the gospel and run with it. And so when we do it, we need to just do it better. And this race taught me a lot about standing up to outside interests that don't have the best interests of the people of this community. It was the first time that I had ever been tried to push in different directions. And you have to be very strong in your values and where you stand in order to be able to be successful. And I'm just so glad that I had a network of people around me that they're like, we know you, but we know where you come from. And that made a difference. And it's not just about having a flashy candidate, someone that can speak, in a certain way, or someone that gets a lot of national attention. All politics is local. And so when we're talking about what's important to this community, it was being a part of this community that was important. But it really, to me, the coalitions that helped this campaign were incredibly critical. And I'm just very grateful to all of you.
Well, I have to say, you just said something there in the middle of that I loved so much, and we're certainly going to take and always make sure we adhere to, which is to get the information right and the facts right and solid, because we know that we have a great public policy platform for the American people, but we do need to recognize that some of it's new to people. We have to present it in a very clear way and make it tangible and how it improves people's lives. So I loved everything you just said. So. But one of the things I really love too is that you mentioned Cecilia Valdez was, again, this detail I'm not that great at holding on to these kind of biographical details, but maybe, as I said earlier, Cecilia, who Paul put first in the list, is the chair of Piñera Labor Federation AFL-CIO. I mean, here in Los Angeles County, the county fed is a massive, massive thing in force, and so that's an incredible position. But I believe you said that she was previously your teacher. Is that correct? And maybe you could give a more personalized introduction as Cecilia can share her thoughts from the campaign.
Well, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Cecilia, I have known literally almost my entire life. By the way, I'm 53. So I keep seeing 54, 55. One was 56. I'm like, on October 30th, I will be 54. So just FYI.
By the way, on that point, I will certainly remember General Election Day because it's my father's birthday, September 23rd.
Yay.
Yes.
Well, I would be proud to introduce Cecilia Valdez. She is a champion for workers. She's a champion for giving voice to people who feel like they're being ignored and marginalized. I know I'm in the right place if Cecilia's there. Like if it's an event that I'm like, should I be here? And then I walk in and I see her and I'm like, okay, I'm in the right place. So I am very you know, she's very gracious with her time to our campaign, but to so many other causes that are so important. If there is a protest, if there is a picket, if there is any sort of event like that, Cecilia is there always. And I'm very fortunate that I've known her basically my whole life because she was my preschool teacher. So I was what, Cecilia, like 3?
3 years old. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So I've known her for 50 years. Love you, Cecilia. And without further ado, our campeona over here in Southern Arizona, Cecilia Valdez.
Thank you, Adelita, for that beautiful introduction, and I love you too. You know, I need to say that I am the chair of the Pima Area Labor Federation, and we are affiliated with a total of 24 different unions in Pima County. I am very proud of that position because I know that I have influence with the working class and the those that would like to be part of a union, because there's a lot of the community that would love to be part of the union. And I'm here to tell you that besides that, I have the treasurer for the Arizona Jobs with Justice. I am the treasurer for that organization, and I've been involved in Arizona Job with Justice for about 30 years. And of course, Steve kept telling me, please join me. And I didn't become an officer in that position until I retired. I retired from the phone company, not from anything else, of course. I was a cable splicer for the last 27 years of my employment with the it's called CenturyLink or Lumen. Who knows what their name is today, because they change constantly. Because it's hostile takeovers. They say that we're merging, but we don't. So I've been a union member for 47 years. I'm very fortunate to have gotten a union job. And because of my union, this is where I was educated about how important it is to be involved in your community and to be involved in politics, because we're the ones that can actually make it better for the community. But one of the things that I do want to say that I am very proud of also is that I am a commissioner for the state of Arizona. So with my experience with the union, I was asked by Governor Hobbs, and of course, I was promoted through the AFL-CIO as the first person of labor to be asked to serve on this, the Arizona Industrial Commission. So I'm a commissioner in April of 2023. I actually fulfilled the position for somebody else that had just retired. And then in April of 2024, I was confirmed by the Finance and Commerce Committee. And then I was confirmed by the Arizona Senate, which is amazing because they know what a strong Democrat I am. So in that capacity, I'm very proud because I'm the first woman of color to serve in that capacity and first woman of labor to serve in that capacity. And that's because of my experience in the labor movement. So thank you very much. Now, you asked me, why am I voting for Adelita? Well, first of all, because I love her. She's like my daughter, right? But besides that, I know the fact that unions are under attack right now. Very, very, you know, Trump actually did away with, I think, 30,000 union members to the public sector just with his, you know, he loves to mark with his little marker, the Sharpie marker. He did away with their contracts, which is awful. And if we don't think that he's actually coming after the private sector, we're not really understanding this. As part of Project 2025, he is trying to eliminate unions altogether. So we are under attack. Besides the marginalized community that's being under attack, so is the middle class. He's going to have us, the middle class, pay for the rich. You know, he's stealing from the poor, taking from the middle class to pay the rich, and that's just not appropriate. And I know that Adelita will do a wonderful job to actually bring that to light and say, we're not going to take this. And I know that for a fact with the Department of Labor, of course, being her preschool teacher, and not only that, her being serving, volunteering for 22 years to the Tucson Unified School District, I know she cares deeply for the Department of Education, and we cannot let that go away. If we let something like that go away completely, it'll take us years to actually incorporate it again to where it's at. It's going to take away from the children that need the extra attention in school. And so it's not going to be, it's going to affect more people of color, more people that are already marginalized than anybody else. And that's really, really one of the other reason. I know that she cares about housing. You know, she actually put together when she was the Pima County Supervisor. She actually included the community and asked the community, what is it that we need to work on? How can we work? She strategizes and she gets input from the community and her constituents. And that's very important because she never forgets where she came from, just like her father.
Mm.
I know that we need to make sure that Medicare is taken care of it. I know that she cares about that. I can go on and on and on, but I don't want to take everybody's time. But I want to tell you that I support Adelita. I will vote for her and I will do everything possible in my capacity to make sure my labor or brothers and sisters vote for her.
Well, first of all, thank you. And it's fantastic to make your acquaintance too. And I look forward from PDA and all of us in PDA Arizona working with you going forward. And thank you so much, Cecilia Valdez. And what an amazing life and career. And all that you're doing right now still is phenomenal. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the next person that I have on the list from Paul is, I see that we have, of course, Stephen and Maggie, but the next person I have listed is Christian Bearden from Iron Workers Local 75. And since graduating from law school at University of Arizona in 2016, Christian Bearden has represented Arizona's construction trade. In 2022, he started his own consulting firm where he's been representing Iron Workers Local 75 to help create more good-paying union jobs and improve working conditions for all workers. So welcome, Christian. And there you are. Hey, welcome. And
yes,
say hello to Adelita and take it away.
So yeah, of course, thank you for having me. And I'm going to call her Congresswoman because we're going to continue to work hard, just as our mother said, and we're going to make sure we get her across the finish line on September 23rd. So just kind of reiterate what Cecilia said, is the Congresswoman has been a great friend of labor for a long time. She's rooted in the community, and we think that's what made the difference. That's the reason she won by 42 points on Tuesday. So in 2019, the ironworkers and some of the other construction trades worked with the Congresswoman when she was at the school board, passed something known as the Responsible Contractor Ordinance. So as was mentioned earlier, you know, Arizona's a red state. It's really hard to kind of pass pro-union legislation. So something we came up with is something to promote apprenticeships. So apprenticeships, the way ours work, privately funded. They're 4 to 5 year programs. So in these responsible contract ordinances, it says that the labor that's used to build school buildings has to come from an apprenticeship program that graduates students 3 out of the last 5 years. And it has to be approved by DOL. So now that we have that, going forward, any kind of new projects will kind of promote union labor being built on those. And now we're starting to do that at city level because of the work that we did with the Congresswoman back in 2019. Another thing that we worked with was the heat ordinance. So a couple of years ago, Pima County, with the Congresswoman being the lead, passed the first ever heat ordinance. That requires all workers to have access to water, shade, and a place to rest. That's something a lot of us would kind of take for granted. And as union members, like that's in our CDA. So we really don't concern about that. But we noticed on job sites where we work with non-union workers, they didn't have that. So they were coming to us, asking us for water. Of course, we'd share it, but we felt that that was the responsibility of their employer to make sure that they have access to that on projects that we're not on. So now in Pima County, any Pima County work site that requires that. And on the end of the month, the state is going to begin their task force, and that will then become statewide with the help of Cecilia as commissioner. She will pass that next year. Our recommendation to make sure all workers in the state of Arizona has that. So again, that's something that the Congresswoman led on a couple of years ago, and it's just another, numerous things that she's done for her community that has made a difference. So as labor, we support those that support us. That's the reason we decided to support the Congresswoman. As she mentioned before, we pounded all of our signs in the West Valley. And then when they missed that, walked away a couple of weeks ago, we made sure to repair the ones that need to be repaired. We installed some new ones for her as well. When we didn't have union meetings, because our union meetings on Saturday, we were either in the West Valley, we were down in Tucson, helping to knock doors with the Congresswoman. And as she said, she had an amazing staff. We've been doing this a very long time. I've never seen a collection of individuals, pretty much anybody you can think of were at these canvassing events. It was really inspiring to see. Arizona can't become a blue state, but we need more candidates like the Congresswoman that support working families and that are willing to tackle kitchen table issues because they know the struggles of living paycheck to paycheck. The Congresswoman is a great example, and she knows her community because she's from the community. She's been ingrained in the community. She's worked her way up through the community. And if we can get more candidates like that, I think we could turn Arizona into a blue state. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And Adelita too, just if you want to chime in too, I do think you should know that, PDA is involved in a lot of campaigns across the country. And when I was hearing, as Mike Fox calls them, the dispos about your campaign and the number of people that you are having out, incredible work by you and your campaign team in coordination with organized labor, obviously PDA, Working Families Party, other groups, but really just a quick thought from you on, this was uncommon to see in an American campaign, this level of grassroots mobilization.
Well, I think that for those of us that know Grijalva campaigns, it isn't.
Oh, wow.
Glad that we're finally getting the recognition for like the shoe leather work, because really that's what is always. My dad taught us all, he learned from other people, taught us all really well. When you come to a space where people are giving their time to you, it's family. You treat people like family. You're respectful of their time. You feed them. I mean, there are a lot of hugs always. It is literally one big familia. And I think that that's why people keep coming back, because I had people that came from different from DC, from just to come and help out, and they all said, I've never left a campaign feeling like energized and ready for more, because you all, like, I feel so comfortable right away. And I love that, because I just want people to feel like we appreciate their time, because we do. 39,000 doors from our campaign, 320,000 phone calls, 1,400 volunteers. And those are individual volunteers. Like, I don't count Steve and Christian and Cecilia because they came back more than one time, so they're only counted once. But thousands and thousands of hours. And we couldn't have done it without the people here. And what I really loved is when there were a lot of, I had 4 negative mailers, a couple negative TV ads, and some social media ads about how, I'm not good for Arizona. And what I loved is that the people overwhelmingly were like, nah, I don't believe them, because I know her, or I know somebody who knows her. And it's that door to door talking to people, just really making a connection that made a difference. And so we had a lot of surrogates literally at every door. Had like other elected officials knocking on doors, because we do that for each other here in Southern Arizona. We support people who are good for our community. And I was just very humbled that, when we had the election night, I was stressed out. So like usually there's more than just one candidate. So the responsibility is not just like, will there be a crowd? I don't know. And we had like 400 or 500 people. There was one national news story that said a couple dozen people. I'm like, what party were you at? Because my family covered the couple dozen. So yeah, it was really fun. It was
Yeah,
good.
it's funny because I don't know, you must have read the New York Times report on it the next
Yeah.
day. Yeah, boy. And right as people could tell from what I said, that his first line was knocking down Mamdani, and absolutely wrong analysis right off the bat.
Totally wrong.
Yeah.
And also I think that what Mamdani did well is he put into social media sort of like catchy kind of looking things, policy as to why he was pushing certain things. That made sense. It's like, do you want to pay, $10 for a plate of halal, or do you want to pay $8? Like, this is why it's important for these people to have a permit. And if I were mayor, this would cut $2 off of every meal. That is tangible. That's something people can understand and something people notice. So to me, he used social media in the way I think made the most sense, which is like, one, get to know me better, but get to know the policies and the issues and why I'm running. That's why he was successful. That's why he'll be successful. And as long as organizations and individuals that care come out to support him,
Right.
he's going to do well. And I literally was thinking we should do a whole contingent of like Tucson goes up to New York and help out. That would be
There you
and
go. I
he'll
love
have to do that with me. We'll
Yeah.
rent a charter, we'll find some good flights. It should be fun. But I think that would be really great, because I do believe that really progressive candidates, you start to feel beat up a little bit, especially towards the end of your campaign. So when you have an influx of people that are like, we got your back, let's get this done. It's exciting. It's exciting for other volunteers too. So yeah, well, I was very appreciative of all of that work. It was every Saturday, there were at least 100 people here, and every one of them hit 50 doors. So it makes a difference.
From Cecilia to Christian, and of course from Adelita, what you are actually generating here is an incredible document that needs to be shared with other campaigns. And up next is Magdalena Acosta. And Magdalena Acosta is the field director for Worker Power. Maggie Acosta is the field director for Worker Power, who most recently ran the Worker Power field operation in support of Adelita Grijalva. She is originally from Chihuahua, Mexico, and spent most of her life in Phoenix. She got involved in politics through her union, Unite Here Local 11, when she helped organize her workplace, flying foods, which prepared the airline meals at Phoenix Sky Harbor. In other words, I got the little flash thing from Zoom keeps interrupting what I'm reading. So she helped organize her workplace, Flying Foods, which prepared the airline meals at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. Welcome, Maggie Acosta.
Well, hi everyone, and thanks for having me here. Yes, you introduced me well. My name is Magdalena Acosta, here from Chihuahua, Mexico. Been here for many, many years. I got introduced here, yes, by my union. Well, my work is being organized after this horrible conditions. And then me knowing that I could make a difference in the workplace, they asked me out on a leave of absence. To be honest, I had no idea what that was. But then when I learned that it was very similar, the only difference was being in the union was inside work, being out, it was in my community, that I could help my community gain a voice and let them know that their voice was mattered. It was, I think that's when I was like, I think I like this. I started knocking on doors. Then from there, it's like became a lead of some, say, 6 to 8 canvassers. Then the group grew a little more. All of a sudden, I was a lead of leads. Then finally, it was officers like, Maggie, you're the deputy director. I'm like, what? And this time it's like, no, Maggie, you're going to be running this campaign. You are the director. It made a big difference, but it's like a difference where I could know that I had grown this much. I honestly, it was in 2020 when this was so bad. Nobody knew what was going on with COVID, right? As a cancer survivor myself, I was trying to take care of myself. But then my son comes home telling me that he's got COVID. I didn't want to take him to the hospital because it was like people wouldn't be coming out. So it was really hard. Then this night when my son is like, I checked on him and he's like, he could barely breathe. He needed to use the restroom. I couldn't even hold him to take him. And then he's like, Mom, I feel I'm dying. It was like, I have to do something. That very next morning, my union rep called me and said, Maggie, we're ready to hit doors. Are you ready? Are you coming out and knocking doors? It was a thing of like, I'm not staying inside. I've got COVID in here and I'm fine. I'm going out there. So I went out there. We hit on those doors with this temperature. It was so hot, almost 120, wearing a face mask, a face shield, but trying to be well. I can tell you during that campaign, it was the canvassers that we had there, no one got sick from that because everyone followed that protocol. So to me, it just like taught me that if I trust my union will take care of me. Right now, I believe it's like this knocking doors and running this campaign for Adelita, it was mostly for that. We need somebody that represents us, somebody that takes care of these workers. As a union member, I know there's many people like me that feel like they can't do anything. Also, as an immigrant, I know that there's a lot of people out there that are fearful. They don't even, it's like it's affecting them because many don't even want to go out to work, being afraid of
Right.
I was really happy to be out there and knocking these doors for Adelita. Um, I heard from her where it was like, yeah, there were some negatives, but it was like I'm really proud of the group I was leading, that everyone, as soon as they heard something negative, they would call me. It's like, hey, Miss Maggie, it's like this is going on. They're talking about this. So it was like I feel proud that teaching them that led to listen and listen closely to what they're hearing. And then if there's something that they're confused or they don't know what the response is, to call us right away. Right there, we can talk it over and teach them how to respond to those things. It's Adelita, I've gotta say, it's like this canvassers really were out there for you, and it's defended you like it's like I wouldn't be able to explain it, but they were all for Adelita.
Thank you so much. And I do have one question I'm wondering also other people in the audience may have as well. Was your son all right? Did he survive the COVID?
You know what? Yes, my son survived COVID. And after that, I've got to tell you, there's been two more instances where I have lost that same son. And thank God it's like he's been okay.
Oh, good, good. That's so good to know. Thank you so much. But your story is so beautiful. And also I couldn't agree more. You know, in my own life, I stumbled into this job in a weird way. It wasn't something I applied for. It's a bit of a long story. I won't go into it now. But the work that I do as a political organizer through this job gives my life so much meaning. And of course, the meaning is anchored in a sense that I'm helping people and helping people near to me. And of course, in this capacity, even across the country and even the world. But that gives me such meaning. And I think your story is so powerful in that regard too. And thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Magdalena. I have to say, I am very, very sorry.
It's okay.
I have to jump off
It's
because
okay.
I'm going to join Al Sharpton
Okay.
TV show really quick. And it was supposed to be later in the day and they moved it. And now they're calling and saying, where are you? So I love the Steve. Thank you, y'all. Thank you so much for everything. If I can jump back on, I will. I'll check and see where you all are because I wanted to hear your other speaker too.
Yes, she should be very interesting. Thank you so much. This has been
Thank you.
exemplary and will continue to be so. And on to September 23rd, victory in the halls of Congress for Adelita Grijalva. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. And Stephen Valencia, yes, indeed. And your countenance in the little window I have of you has been so brilliant. You have a beautiful smile, I can already say that. And Stephen Valencia is the co-chair of Arizona Jobs for Justice. And welcome your reflections on the campaign that has passed and is coming forward.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here today. The one thing I wanted to say right off the bat that it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of deep, seated values to run for Congress in these times.
Mhm.
And here we are. The contrast is tremendous in what we have going on today in Congress and from the White House, and have this kind of a campaign actually be, successful. Now that campaign, I tell you, I was just every Saturday and Sunday, I would be like uplifted by the amount of people that were there. The youth for Adelita was tremendous. These people, these young people were like, they're going to be the leaders, right? That are going to come up next. I just wanted to say that Adelita is like, I've known her for a really long time. Even in her early 20s, I remember we were trying to save our county hospital here in Tucson, and she was out there with us, marching and then speaking to save our county hospital. She must have been about 24 years old, and I was looking for some photos of her during that time, but I couldn't find them. You know how it is. But at any rate, I've been a Grijalvista for a really long time, and the work of Raul. He was. I like what his district director said about him at the funeral. that Raul was actually an activist that wound up in Congress.
Right.
I mean, I really like that formulation because it's true. And he did, he did a lot of things in his life that really put him apart as someone that we should follow
Mhm.
and be a part of a campaign for. So at any rate, yeah, I was there in 2002 when he first ran, and I remember looking around and saying to myself, "This is the most beautiful coalition, political coalition that I've ever seen." And it was, it was multiracial, multicultural. It was younger and older, and it had this feel of excitement, that we were really going to press forward, with the kind of with the values that we possess. I mean, really a different kind of a campaign. And so that's what way back in 2002. I actually was involved with the predecessor of Raul Grijalva, Ed Pastor. And
Mhm.
what it represented for me was an opening of this kind of a racial representation in Congress, a political, racial representation. We had some good people representing us, Mo Udall for one,
Mhm.
but we needed to make a change in transition and have a Mexican American leading the district because of our demographics. So we've been involved with this for a long time, and here comes Adelita, right, a Latina, breaking through again. I mean, this is a powerful statement, against the ideology against DEI, right? I mean,
Sure.
this is a really, yeah, it confronts this thing head on to actually elect somebody like Adelita, And I've known Adelita, in the school board. Anytime there was difficulties, I could actually, I mean, many times can you actually have an elected official that you can call, and within minutes, they will get back to you. Very responsive, to our concerns, and that's what I really liked about her too, in all of her. But anyway, I've been with Arizona Job and Justice for a long time, and our thing is it's we actually believe in a labor-led, all people's struggle against MAGA. So it's a very broad kind of an approach. But what Adelita brings and what the campaign did is just a tremendous statement about what working people can do. I'm a member of the electrical union, local 266 out of Salt River Project. And also I'm a founder of the Salt of the Earth Labor College, and of course,
Wow. Wow.
yeah, if I don't
Yeah.
say this, I'm actually a delegate to the Pima Air Labor Federation with my good friend and partner, Cecilia Valdez, who has, I have to tell you, that has really changed the leadership of the federation in such a way that it is people are more open. People feel freer in how to express their progressive, thoughts and everything. And I'm really, really proud of Cecilia Valdez for her work that she does. So all together, when Adelita was at the podium, and this was at the celebration on Tuesday, she mentioned all the unions that had been with her and supported her, and there must have been 2 dozen. I mean, that she rattled off really quick. And so that to me, I mean, I feel that it is the formula that we need, right, going forward, where it's a labor-led, all people's, movement around a progressive politic in opposition to MAGA. So anyway, I'm all excited. I'm all excited about this thing. We have city elections coming up. We want to make sure that we have a progressive slate, running there for the city of Tucson, and basically there's a lot going on, but I'll stop right there and maybe some questions will come up or something.
Well, we're at the top of the hour in 6 minutes, and I want to bring forward Dan O'Neill and Paul Stapleton Smith. But just quickly, maybe to Cecilia or to Stephen, just because his mic's live, but it could be Christian Magdalena. One of the things that was happening in the Biden era years was a clear sense of the growth of popularity among the general population of unions and organized labor. And I'm guessing that that's really still very vitally apparent in Arizona. Is that your sense? And maybe Christian, as a younger man, could also chime in here. Go ahead, whoever wants to tackle that. Yeah.
Steve, go ahead and share with them the Starbucks and also IATSE. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, there's been a lot, that the Federation, Java Justice, we've been supporting the Starbucks workers, and these
Yeah.
are young people that are really trying to get a contract, and there's actually 4 stores in Tucson that have already voted or in the process of voting for union representation, and it represents one of the fastest uh, unionization processes in the country because we encourage them, and we're always there for what they call sip in solidarity. So anyway, that's what they call it. So we're always there. What was the other subject,
Uh,
Cecilia?
IATSE, and then I'd like to have Magdalene talk about the organizing here in Tucson, how we're going to eventually someday have an actual union hotel that we could actually bring conferences to. Go ahead.
Right on, right on. I just wanted to mention that we had done a lot of work with the infrastructure and inflation bill that was brought in by Biden. And we had all these big plans and we were organizing like crazy. And then it all went away. The only thing that has not gone away is the chips manufacturing, semiconductor, and also there's strategies being worked out where we're going to be focusing on manufacturing and housing, especially in the Phoenix area. So that's going to be really big. And during the Biden administration, we worked a lot on the deferred action, which was it was a very proud thing for us because something like 30 workers had received their Social Security numbers. They got their deferred action that were good, and they were totally you know what I mean, supportive of the union. So that's what very proud of that stuff. But all that stuff went away, with the deportation threats and so forth and so on. So yeah, we lost quite a bit, with this guy over coming into the White House.
Yeah, thank you. Magdalena.
So yeah, it's like with the Biden administration, I know that there were so many plans on growing our union. Then this comes and the union is under attack. I know right now it's like here in Unite Her Local 11 is like has quite a few, like, I wouldn't be able to see the exact number over in Southern Arizona, in Southern California, but then there's another like big amount here in Arizona, in Phoenix, Maricopa. But then it's like with that, we only had like, I believe it's 60 people in Tucson. So wanting to grow that union in Tucson is like, it's very crucial for us right now. And it's like, I can't speak of the names but there's places being worked on right now that in the future, later on, it's like we will be able to disclose them.
Oh, great. That's great to hear. And with that, I'd love to just bring forward Dan O'Neill and Paul Stapleton Smith just for your final thoughts in the final minute here. And Paul, for people who don't know, if Paul is with us, if we can unmute Paul, I don't know that I can find him in the alphabetized list, but
We'll find him.
all of this has been brought together, and Paul Stapleton Smith is somebody, and all of you, I wish we could clone and deliver to all the rest of the congressional districts in the country so that we can win the elections for the working class and for the people out there to create the kind of just society we all need. But Dan, take it away, and then maybe Paul after you.
Alan, I think we should do that. Steve's ready to go, I tell you. I'm so happy to see my old friend Steve Valencia. Steve, you rock, and all 4 of you. It's just amazing. We are so excited. PDA Arizona, so excited about the victory and the part that we were able to play. I know the labor unions lifted us all up, and yeah, it was great. I just want to go ahead and pass it on to Paul because I know we're running out of time. Paul is our rock down there in Tucson. He is our PDA labor coordinator, liaison, whatever we want to call him. We have to give you a title, Paul. But anyway, thank you all so much. Go ahead, take it away, Paul.
I have nothing to take away. What I have to give is thanks. I am so grateful to be on this call, as I am every time I'm on the PDA call. My sisters Maggie, Cecilia, my patron and mi hermano Steven Valencia, Christian Bearden, who we work on our heat protection and policy. We do policy and campaigns, but unions, union family, and the 21st Century Economic Bill of Rights that PDA through Progressive State Party Progressive Network, I'm doing a ton of work with that. And I'm so grateful in these oppressive times. And my sister and leader, Cecilia Valdez, I'm just so grateful for PDA, for the thoughtfulness, the insight, everybody on this call. And that's what I have. That's it. That's it. I'm just knocked out in these times that I can be a small part of this enormous effort.
Well, thank you so much. And I know that we are still waiting for our next guest. We'll go to Mike Fox in a second with our PDA to-dos update. But maybe Donna Smith, any thoughts? And you want to share your thoughts with Cecilia and the group? Donna,
And I was trying to unmute myself.
oh, there you go.
Wow. I mean, talk about needing to clone this bunch from Arizona. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's just incredible. And I guess I would like to know, how do you keep yourselves now up for this general election that you're pretty sure you're gonna take it home? What do you do now to keep yourself fired up to make sure you get everybody in the game?
Well, for myself, I got to say that I continue to canvas for her, because we're going to get those individuals that still don't know what she's about, because a lot of people, it is an area where people come in and out, and we can't give it up. We just have to continue to do the good work that we've been doing. Don't stop canvassing. Don't stop making phone calls, and don't stop asking for donations, because it takes a lot of money to run these campaigns. And that's the way I feel. That's what I'm going to continue to do. I'm going to act like she hasn't won yet, and we're still trying to get her to win. So we can't take anything for granted.
Thank you, Cecilia.
Thank you. And with that, I suppose we should thank Cecilia. We should thank Magdalena. We should thank Stephen and Christian as well. And wish all, I know, especially to Magdalena and Christian with your Diamondbacks hats and jackets. Best of luck to the team. They made the World Series a couple years ago. I hope they don't dismantle it. It's a young team that still has an upward path. They're a little struggling this year, but
and Brother Alan, if I may, this is rude, but Union, our Major League Baseball players, basketball, we couldn't be more proud when we organize these folks who come out for us, these athletes, these folks. So just another push there for our siblings in the leagues.
Well, thank you all so much. Onwards to victory on September 23rd. Again, thank you, especially Cecilia, Magdalena, Stephen, Christian, and of course, Adelita Grijalva. And yes, go ahead. Yes.
Okay, I've got to support this Diamondbacks. They were established the year my oldest son, the one that almost got killed by COVID, was born.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. And thank you, all of you. And Mike Fox, why don't you come forward with our PDA to-dos, and we will reach out again to, we'll try to see if Aftyn Behn is here, who is our next guest. Thank you so much, everybody. And over to you, Mike Fox. Aftyn Behn has just entered. So, and by the way, I encourage all of you, by Cecilia, Magdalena, if you all want to stay on, the next guest we have, I think, is about to become a very high-profile American progressive politician, as she will likely get the nomination in a special election coming up in a few months that could flip a seat over to the Democrats in Metro Nashville, where they've gerrymandered the district so severely that only 2 election cycles ago, the Democratic incumbent Jim Cooper ran unopposed in his district in the 2020 election. By the 2022 election, they had gerrymandered it so much they had turned all of Nashville into an area that had no Democratic elected representatives. And now in one of those 4 districts, Aftyn Behn will be running in the special election. The way they gerrymander it means the gaps aren't that large, and we have an actual chance to pick up a progressive Democrat victory, flipping a Republican seat in Tennessee 7. So, but first, Mike Fox with our PDA to-dos at the top of the hour, which we always do at the top of the second hour. And then we'll be introducing Aftyn Behn, candidate for Tennessee 7. Thank you, all of you from Arizona 7, and looking forward to working with you all together. Take it away, Mike Fox.
All right, Arizona, you got me pumped. And so I need something I absolutely loved about what Adelita said about that campaign. The fact that everybody was family in that space. So that just that warmed my heart up. And so I got to toss some of that warmth at the folks who have donated so far today. Patricia, thank you. And Charles and Karen and Harriet, thank you for becoming a monthly sustainer, Harriet. And Susan and Dr. Deutsch, phone banking, double dipping Dr. Deutsch as always. And Becky and Adra, Deborah, phone banker Michael, Joanne, phone banker Betsy, Margaret, phone banker Rick, Patricia, Valerie, Dorothy, thank you, thank you, thank you. As always, Dorothy, for your more than kind $100. If anybody can match or beat that, please do. As a matter of fact, the next person who can do $100 or more, I will match. And filmmaker William, double dipping, donating and making calls. Thank you, brother. And Beverly, double dipping. Michael, double dipping. Mary, thank you so much. Our brother for years here at PDA, Kurt, good to see you, brother, up in Ohio. Thanks for your donation. Likewise, phone banker Aaron, double dipping, and Bob, and Dr. Sonnenborn, and Mark, and Linda, and Debbie, and Yosh, and phone banker Matthew, not only hitting the phones, but again, thank you for your more than kind $100, Matthew. You absolutely rock. And Dr. Double Dipping Dr. Deutsch again, and Carla, the head of our disabilities issue organizing team, head of the executive board there, and Quincy, and Peter, and Michael, and phone banker Michael, double dipping, phone banker Mary, double dipping, phone banker Jane, double dipping, Carl, phone banker Carl, double dipping, and that does it thus far. So I'm going to be tossing into the chat the link to donate, likewise to volunteer. We're still about 10 short on volunteers for our goal, so please do toss in an hour if you can. Like all these great folks like Steve and Magdalena and the rest of the crew that were out there knocking doors in over 100 degrees, gang. We got to show solidarity with that. All I'm asking now, if anybody wants to knock doors, there's a spot for you to check a box when you go to that volunteer link, no question. But my big push is always, since this is a big national call, is phone bank, phone bank. Us phone bankers get to sit in the air conditioning. We gotta show solidarity with those Arizona folks in the heat. So let's make it happen, gang. Okay? Solidarity, and back to you, Alan.
Thank you. And look, I am going to ask my next guest to introduce herself to you. But all I can say is that in the middle of this week, I was alerted to her prospective candidacy in the special election where a Representative Green, Republican in the U.S. House of Representatives, was brave enough to take a vote against Donald Trump's quote unquote big beautiful bill. And given the level of intimidation and aggression within the Republican Party, maybe people were not so surprised that he, upon taking that vote, instantly resigned, making there be a special election, as is in the Constitution, by the way. The governor of Texas, by the way, is stalling the special election in Houston in a heavily Democratic district, really breaking with the Constitution, which makes clear that Senate elections are not mandated, but in the Constitution, in the U.S. House of Representatives, the People's House, when there is someone stepping down, there'll be a special election, especially in the earlier part of the term, whenever a member of the U.S. House of Representatives step down. So in Tennessee 7th, there's going to be a special election. And among the Democratic candidates who have thrown their hat in the ring is the person I'm introducing, Aftyn Behn. And I did a little research on her, and all I can say is I could not be more thrilled that she is joining us right now, because I was so amazingly impressed with everything I learned about. Already a member of the Tennessee State Assembly, so elected to the State Assembly as a Democrat. I'm not sure how that's said. It says Representative Aftyn Behn, so I'm just going to go with that on her on the Zoom interface here. Representative Aftyn Behn from the State Assembly in Tennessee and candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives in a special election in which she'll tell us when the primary is. I believe it's either late September or early October, and the general election would be in December. So, Aftyn Behn, please tell us about yourself and tell us about the situation in Tennessee's 7th District. Welcome.
All right. Wow. Thanks for that intro. I'm so excited to be on this call and really grateful for the opportunity. So a little bit about me. I moved back to Tennessee where I grew up after Trump was elected the first time and jumped into community organizing, trying to defend Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. And then I was hired by Indivisible to be their statewide organizer and cut my teeth during that for 3 years. And then decided to run for office after the Tennessee 3 saga. I'm sure a lot of you saw that unfold sorry, one second, guys. There we go. Sorry, I'm at an event, community organizing event, and folks are leaving. So in January of 2023, I wanted to be done with Tennessee politics. And then, of course, the supermajority went after Representative Justin Pearson and Justin Jones and Gloria Johnson. And I ended up organizing every rally and protest outside the Capitol during 12 days of the expulsion hearings and decided that I deserved to be there just as much as everyone else. So I ran 2 years ago for a special election in a pretty brutal primary in Nashville. Won, beat the establishment. And then this race came to be. So as Alan intimated, Representative Mark Green got his son's girlfriend pregnant, got a sketchy job in Guyana, and decided to break bread and split from the House. And so this race is an R+19 on a good day. However, as we've seen, there are major Democratic shifts in special elections. The excitement and energy is on the Democratic side. We've seen 16, 19-point marginal shifts, and that also increases when there's a woman at the top of the ticket. So I decided to jump in after the big bullshit bill passed, and a constituent of mine was denied a life-saving medication. She's on our state Medicaid program and received a notification that her SSDI benefits were going to be cut because of Trump. So I'm a pissed off social worker and decided to jump in this race to take it straight to Congress. So I'm really excited. There is a chance, I think we have the chance to flip a deep red district in Tennessee. And this is the only, as Alan said, the only Republican to district special election in the entire country this fall. So everyone will be watching Tennessee. And I hope that we dress to impress, that we get out the vote, but we can't do it without you all. So you can find me at aftynforcongress.com. Check me out. Would love your support. And yeah, we're gonna flip this table, and then we're gonna flip Congress, and then we're gonna take back Tennessee while we do it.
Well, before we go to a question from Hartzell Gray, who is somebody who may also be doing something similar to yourself in the near future, but I'll just leave that vague for now. But Mike Fox, if you could unmute again, you obviously in Florida oversaw what were 2 special elections that occurred because of the appointments of the Trump administration in Florida. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was a 10-point gain in both districts.
Better than.
So if Aftyn was able, because it was 58-39 last time in the district, so a 10-point gain means a victory for the Democratic nominee. And then there could be a little bit of humility here, which is a great trait, of course, to have for especially a politician, as Aftyn Behn. Again, in the research that I did, you have a high media profile in your district, and you're jumping into the race, received more press than your Democratic opponents. And so there's a very, very good shot you have in the primary. Maybe if you want to speak a little bit about your primary. Now, we should let everybody know, obviously, you just announced not long ago, a week ago or something, and we haven't gotten through the process of an official PDA endorsement. We will be getting you within about a week the campaign questionnaire, and then we'll proceed with the process for a PDA endorsement. But my understanding, and please, free speech here, say whatever, however you want to answer this question. My impression is that you're the progressive in the race for the Democratic nomination. Yeah,
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. I'm also the only woman and the youngest. So, and I look at this as the opportunity to usher in generational change in Tennessee against the good old boys club. So, I've made the boys angry, and that's a good sign. That means we've got the excitement on our side, and I'm so excited for this race, and I can't wait for you all to feel like you're part of it.
Thank you so much. We feel the same way. And just quickly before we go to Hartzell too, I mean, I saw the sort of one sentence line, which is a very eloquent sentence, by the way, about what your priorities are in addressing the voters in the district and your framing for your campaign, and just provide that for our PDA audience.
Yeah, so I come from the Tennessee Valley Authority. I believe in public infrastructure and public power. I grew up in Appalachia. And so for me, it's about civic and public and care, economy, infrastructure. And so my tagline is Feed Kids. Our governor declined millions of dollars in terms of feeding kids across the state for summer EBT. Fixing roads. We have the worst roads in the country. I put up a bunch of billboards last year that said the real border crisis is Kentucky having better roads than us. So trying to train all that. And then, of course, funding hospitals. Tennessee ranks as the leading state for the number of rural hospital closures in the country. We have 9 rural hospitals that are at risk of closing right now with the big bullshit bill passing. And I got my start organizing around these rural hospital closures. So for me, this is a, fully come home type scenario, and I just can't wait. Yeah.
Obviously, us in PDA, we have a very strong sentiment. If you don't know, and for our other honored guests here, Stephen and Magdalena, whoever's still here, Cecilia, Christian, if you're still here. If people don't know, PDA was the sole national organization that drafted Bernie Sanders to run for president as a Democrat. So we were the big fish in the relatively small pool of electoral progressive politics, with Rahul Grijalva from Arizona 7th, one of our strongest allies in the country. And we reached out and pressured and arm twisted to a good degree Senator Sanders to run for president. And we were able to persuade him to do so. And he ran. We ran the Run Bernie Run campaign all by ourselves for about a year and a half before a couple unions joined us. And so we feel strongly that the public policy framing of Senator Sanders is much more popular with a base of American voters and working class voters across, multi-ethnic, multiracial working class in America, including maybe the predominantly white and Black working class in Tennessee. Is your sense that that's the case in your district more so than the sort of neoliberal Democratic positions? And do you sense that your message can really reach the base voter there and appeal to them very much across even party lines?
Yeah, back up. My 2 seminal pieces of legislation this past, during my tenure, one is ending the grocery tax by closing corporate loopholes, which has played well across both sides. And then, of course, pot for potholes, which is legalizing the recreational sale of marijuana to fund our general highway fund in order to fix our roads. And I will say that, and some of your audience will probably find this interesting, the other message that's really resonated, and this came after I went on Ice Watch in my district. The video was picked up by the Department of Homeland Security, which called for my arrest as an elected official. I had to go underground for 3 weeks. I was almost abducted from my legislative office. The security threats were very, very real, but I will tell you that in that, the message that really resonated with folks, I hope I'm not stalling, the message that really resonated with folks was, I'm sorry that you're struggling and your grocery prices are high, but immigrants are not the reason for that. And so I've really led with that messaging in this campaign. And I think it's resonating because people are going to wake up and they're going to realize they've been scammed. And we've got to create entry points, especially in a Trump state like Tennessee, that you've been scammed, come to us, don't be further alienated.
Thank you so much. And Hartzell Gray patiently has had his hand up. Hartzell Gray may or may not be applying for the same job that you are applying for in the next few days. Hartzell, how are you doing? Please unmute. If you can unmute. Go ahead, Hartzell.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I wish we could see you.
I would love to get my camera on.
Yeah, can we co-host Hartzell if that's possible? I know that could be tricky while you're speaking, but go ahead, Hartzell.
Also, Alan, is nothing, can you keep no secret? Is nothing sacred? My goodness.
I have said nothing. I just was speaking in very vague generalities, Hartzell.
I need you to tiptoe better. Oh, let me fix this camera. Okay, and I just wanted to say, first off, it is just so incredible to have Rep. Behn here on the call. I don't even really have a question. I just really wanted to gas you up because you are absolutely the most progressive person in this race, from Palestine to, like you said, pot and potholes. I mean, seriously, I don't know if I can take credit for introducing your campaign to Alan, but I've introduced your campaign to lots of folks. So I think you're incredible. Can you explain to our folks, especially right now, as I may or may not be also going through fundraising right now, can you explain the challenges, not only, just the nuts and bolts of doing this, especially as progressives who we don't take corporate money and it's all grassroots, but also you're going to be talking, and you are talking to folks who are just furious at the Democratic Party. Even folks who may have big pockets are so upset about this last election, or really just the policies of the establishment Democrats, that they aren't giving any money. And Citizens United is one of the worst decisions of our lifetime. But this is how the balls and the strikes go, and this is the reality we live in. So can you kind of touch on that and how you're making it work and how our folks can help you in the cause?
Man, I love that question. So the first thing I'll say is that I have constituents that call me every day and tell me to leave the Democratic Party and start my own. And I said, all right, if you base build and give me 20,000 base voters for my House district, I will do that. Like, let's talk about it, right? However, people need to understand something about the South. The Democratic Party is inextricably linked to our culture, to our history. It is connected to Black legacy institutions and our civil rights movement in a profound way that cannot be disentangled. And so when you are running anti-Democratic Party, you are running against Black folks that have carried our democracy and our economy on their backs in the South. So I just want to say that out loud. In terms of fundraising, for my state primary race, I did not get a lot of support from establishment Democrats, especially a lot of the big donors. And so, fortunately, and I'll say this, it's a testament to those of you that have organizing experience and or organize on a statewide level. I was able to win my state race because I was a state organizer for Indivisible. And so all of the grassroots had my support. They donated. And then I had national support, which is what my pitch is for this race. We've got a nationalized fundraising and localized margins is our pitch. And so I was on CNN last week, got asked some tough questions, but was able to bring it back to messaging. And so I think if you are running a grassroots campaign where, the infrastructure leans more towards establishment Democrats, you've really got to base build and think about what is that national angle that you can take to sensationalize your race, nationalize it, and earn a lot of money.
I'm curious, do you think that have you noticed what's the word I'm trying to say? Have you noticed the energy amongst this new wave of progressives? Like, how are you molding that message? Like, I feel like you touched on it, right? We have to come from movements. Like, the candidates we need now cannot be fly by night. It can't be folks moving in. It can't be, we are in a different era, right? And so I guess could you touch on that? Using the movements and the organizing. I'm a tenant union organizer in Kansas City, right? KC Tenants. And so do you feel like this moment where we have to rely on organized labor and activist groups, is that, how can you use this moment to win this district, especially as the demographics are changing? I think the movement candidates actually have a better chance in sorting through this new reality. That's the through line of this entire question. Your thoughts on that?
Oh my God. Okay. Well, the first way I'm going to answer this is I'm friends with a local conservative talk show host. I used to go on a show once a month. We had a falling out. We've reconciled. But he goes, you know what people like you? And he goes, and I go, why? And he goes, you're a lot like Trump. I'm like, please say more. And he's like, well, you're really authentic. People are craving. Trump has ushered in this politic and culture of authenticity. And if you are a bullshit politician and you go in and you're equivocating and you're lying, people are going to sniff that out. And I stand up for our trans community. I stand up for our immigrant neighbors. I'm never going to sacrifice those values. I may talk about it differently, but I'm never going to sacrifice that. And then I think I want folks to understand that this race and the support I have in the state comes from 10 years of base building. Okay. And just an example, I walked into a rural county party in the 7th Congressional District. I didn't think I was going to have a lot of support, right? And after the during the Q&A, a guy stood up and he said, "You knocked my door 7 years ago when you were trying to unseat a Republican legislator in Wayne County. And I drove up here today to tell you how freaking proud I am of you. And I'm supporting you in this race." Another girl stood up, little Hispanic girl, and she goes, "I'm from the Hispanic community in Dixon. I work at the international desk at our state university, and all of my friends are being deported. And I saw you stand up for immigrants, and that's why I'm here today. It's my first Democratic meeting I've ever been to in my life." So we're at a moment where people want to feel inspired. They want to see fearless leadership that is able to organize to the next moment, because we are under authoritarian capture in this state, and it's going to take an organizer to get us out of it.
All right. Well, I think you're phenomenal. I'm going to pass the mic to someone else. But like I said, I can say it if you don't want to. I think that you are probably the most progressive candidate who has ever come out of this district. And I mean that in the best way possible. Again, like, your record speaks for itself. I've loved sharing all your videos and your information. So if there's anything we can do, also we should chat about maybe some co-event hosting. But
well, let's also be clear. Again,
I appreciate you, my friend. You're incredible, and I hope you bring this thing home.
I love Hartzell's last proposal, but let's also remember, right? And everybody on the call should remember, just like Adelita, Aftyn's election is not in 26. It is coming up in a few weeks, basically.
Absolutely.
Right. And so this is going to be.
And what a model, by the way. PDA for Adelita Grijalva's race is a hell of a model. Again, there's a lot of steps for the endorsement process of PDA and why PDA. But I'm just saying, Aftyn Behn is, I like this. I like this candidate quite a bit, and I think we have a good model to get progressives elected. That's all I'm saying, Alan. I don't think that's saying too much.
I love you, and I love your shirt too. So there you go. Which also could be a message for Aftyn's campaign too. Aftyn, quickly before let's open up the stack so people can, and Stephen and Cecilia, if you're still here, everybody who was a special guest on the Arizona segment, if you guys have questions for Aftyn, we'll throw you to the top of the stack. But let's get the hands raised if Aftyn has a little bit more time for us. But again, I did say at the beginning, I don't know if you heard, your district is the product of probably the most exceptional, and of course, I'm complimenting the Republicans in their nefariousness, gerrymandering I've ever seen. They took a district that, I think I'm correct, in 2020, Cooper won as a Democrat in Nashville, unopposed by a Republican. And they took Nashville and they broke it up so that they turned into 4 Republican districts and no Democratic district, turning Tennessee from a 7-2 state to an 8-1 state. That generally means the splits aren't that great. They're not 70-30. So that's one of the reasons why you can be competitive here. Any thoughts on all of that? I mean, and also maybe even one final thing. Are you able to convey, in contrast to a moderate Democrat and any Republican, the sincerity of your caring for the welfare of working people in your district? In contrast.
Well, my state house campaign slogan was "Caring Loudly." So I love we love storytelling in the South, and this one's really. So after the ICE incident, I told my legislative aide, any Trump supporter, any Trump constituent that I have, invite them out for breakfast. I'll pay, invite them out. And they were calling for my arrest. They were really angry. Only one person took me up on it. And so last Monday night, so I was scheduled for Tuesday morning. Last Monday night, I get a phone call from a Republican in the Tennessee legislature. And he goes, "Are you meeting a constituent tomorrow at 9 a.m. in Madison?" Like an auctioneer. And I said, "Yeah, how do you know that?" And he goes, "Well, because she's on conservative talk radio working through talking points, on her immigration, because she wants to come to that meeting and work them out on you." And so I met her, she was working on her talking points to come to the meeting with me. And I saw her, and the first time I saw her, I just embraced her. And I said, "Listen," I go, "I care for you as much as I care for our immigrant neighbors, right? And I will fight for your due diligence just like I will fight for our immigrant neighbors." And so I do feel like I've been able to win a lot of Republicans over, because they know I'm a fight. Like, they may not agree with my politics 100% of the time, but they know I will fight for them. They know I will fight for them. And I think that's the same energy and excitement that people want to feel in our state. In terms of gerrymandering, oh my God.
Yeah.
mean, you're talking as Alan said. I mean, they're the worst maps, and I feel like everyone says that. But in Tennessee, there's no checks and balances. I mean, we have a Republican trifecta. There are no we don't have ballot referendums. We have state preemption. There is literally no checks and balances to these gerrymandered maps. And so I mean, I live right across the street from a congressional district that should be mine. I mean, it's just insane. So in that, it's what we have to build now in order to prepare for the census and making sure that those maps or we get a new congressional district in 2031.
Wow, yeah, it's crazy. Murray Smart, you're up with a question for Aftyn, Behn in Tennessee. How you doing, Murray?
All right, thank you. Hi, Aftyn. I don't know if you remember, we used to be in contact when
Oh,
you
I
worked with
remember
Rural
you.
Organized.
Yeah.
Best of luck. Quick
Yeah.
question. We're trying to help a Democratic candidate here in CD7 in Minnesota, which is red, represented by Michelle Fischbach. A lot of people are really frustrated that she doesn't listen and won't do anything. What would you say is a good piece of advice to give to our candidate to help her move things along that you found works?
Well, Murray, you've heard this before, but for folks on the call, in organizing, we always say the messenger matters more than the message. And so I've spent a lot of time ensuring that I've invested in the right messengers, especially in these local areas. Like, for example, one of the rural county school lunch, the person in charge of school lunches for the public school system in the rural county in the district came into my state house race, and I was like, you'd be an excellent messenger around my, feeding kids. And I was able to get buy-in on that. She's a Republican. And so just to say that I think for investing in high visibility tactics, especially in local rural communities, and then ensuring that you're investing in the right messengers in these communities.
Thanks. Good luck.
Thank you, Murray. Nina Singer, a question for Aftyn, Behn.
Okay, now can you hear me? Here, let me turn down my TV.
I
When
can
I came
hear
in,
you.
I was working with the student, and you sound great. I'm in Florida, and another gerrymandered district that I'm in, which is crazy, but I wish you luck. One good thought, you sound like you're a typical great person who's willing to go to the other side, fight Trump, fight everybody, fight for the people. Wish you good luck and the best. And, if there's anything coming up, I'll fight for Tennessee 7 as well, because I've been fighting all over the country with all the different places. Talk about gerrymandering. Look what they're doing in Texas.
Yeah, for sure.
It's terrible, but good luck to you, and we're all rooting for you. You sound terrific. You really do. I'm pumped up more than I have been, so I'm excited.
All right. Well, thank you, Nina.
Let's go to Michael Neal. Thank you, Nina. Unmute, Michael.
All right, did it. Thank you. Thank you, Aftyn. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. I think we've sort of covered a little bit of it, but this is a far more rural district than it once was, and I know that we're talking a lot about food. I think that's a key entry. What are some other things that you're hearing from the rural side of your district that actually is pretty large now, that is really getting some traction in terms of progressive policies, but that translate well to rural?
Yeah, I mean, I think ending the grocery tax in terms of the federal stuff, and another thing that in my rural organizing days is the best inoculation against hyper-nationalization is localization. I'm going to say it again. The best inoculation against hyper-nationalization is localization. So the more localized you can make the issues, which is why when I first launched, I emailed every single county party chair and I said, tell me what the local issue is right now that you all are fighting. And we plan to build our regional communications and organizing strategies based on that local issue. And so, for example, one of the big ones in Cheatham County, which is in the district, is TVA tried to circumvent local leadership and build this natural gas pipeline. You had the progressives Sunrise against it. You had labor for it because it was union jobs. So it was kind of complicated, right? But I think understanding the nuance of these local issues and being able to talk about them at length when you're in these communities really does wonders.
By the way, earlier on the call, folks, my co-author on the Rural New Deal proposal, Anthony Flacavento from the Rural Urban Bridge Initiative, was on the call. He's not here now, but we'll certainly pass this, the Rural New Deal proposal over to Aftyn's campaign to take a look at. And there's a lot of course, nationally relevant proposals in there about small towns in rural America. One quick question before we go to Demetrios for the next question. Is TVA still in Tennessee mythology generally very popular? It must be, right? Did you hear that, Aftyn? Is TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority, still popular in the general public view?
Man, oh man, oh man. This is like my bread and butter. Okay. Well, first of all, TVA electrified an entire region, it pulled people out of poverty. It is the core backbone story that we have to rely on as public infrastructure supporters and public power proponents. However, right, I've also been involved in TVA accountability efforts because as a quasi-governmental entity, it has been non-transparent, right? And so it's hard because as a progressive, right, we want our democratic institutions to be better, right? But we also want to make sure that people know the value of them. So I'm actually thinking about what the campaign is that I'm going to run concurrently with this around building the public perception of TVA. And just so you know, what I've got in my back pocket, Jason Isbell does a song called TVA. So I'm hoping that he can maybe come forward and we can get some surrogates to be talking about the importance of TVA in this moment in time, especially as the Trump administration tries to overhaul it. I'm going to drop that link in the chat.
Thank you so much. And again, we'll get you our rural New Deal proposal. It's chock full of proposals, and see what you like from there, and we'll be in dialogue about it. Demetrios, you're up next. Question for Aftyn Behn. Please unmute.
My question would be, no, CD7 Arizona. When is that election? When is the primary? No, the other election for that?
Oh, the general is September 23rd.
Okay, and there is volunteering options for that?
Yes, there are.
Because I was looking and I could not find any.
Oh, we'll make sure that you have those through. If we have your email, which we do if you're on this call, we'll make sure you're aware of that. Actually, and Aftyn, if you could clarify when the elections are, the dates are in your district, if those have been set by the governor?
Well, shenanigans are afoot is my favorite.
That's what I thought.
As it seems in Tennessee. I'm telling you, I want to make shirts for the next legislative session that says I went to the Tennessee legislature and all I got was gaslit. But the election has not been set yet. It's looking like an early October primary and an early December general, which is great because it's Sagittarius season. So let's go.
Oh, there we go. And by the way, again, people mentioned the Texas gerrymandering. Texas, I'm not even sure if they've still set that election in Houston. Abbott was trying to delay it as much as possible. It's in the friggin' Constitution. Maggie Boyd, you're up. Please unmute.
Hi, I just wanted to know, what is the situation for the primary? How many people are you running against? How many people do you expect to have turn out to the election? And how many registered Democrats are there in your district?
That's a great question. So in Tennessee, we were one of the most voting apathetic states in the country. I've knocked thousands of doors in this country, and Tennessee just always, and it's because people's lives haven't materially changed. In terms of the voters, we're expecting probably 10,000 voters in the Democratic primary, and probably 60 to 70 in the general. The district is, I think, 170,000 voters. So it's pretty low. It's always under 30%. In terms of the primary, there is me and three men. Call them the boys club. But they're two state reps who I work with in the legislature, and then this guy who basically runs a consulting firm. And I say to everyone, I don't think it's fair to disparage anyone. So I just say we have different theories of change and different pathways to get there. And so for me, it's about nationalizing this race, getting on TV, raising a lot of ruckus and hell nationally to get people to focus on it. Two, I've been on TV for the past 2.5 years talking about ending the grocery tax and pot for potholes. And three is that I worked for Indivisible. And so I'm deeply connected to the national progressive apparatus, including y'all, hopefully now, that we can mobilize and get this race. So I do think I'm the front runner. Oh, and I hit the alphabetical jackpot because my name is BE and it's alphabetical. So I think it's going to be, I'm just really excited. I know you all can tell that. So.
Jim Langford's next, but before Jim, I'm going to ask two questions. First of all, I'm going to say, I when I thought about introducing you, I always was telling myself, I'm first going to say, what an amazingly great name you have. So props to whoever named you, your parents, whoever did it. Incredible name. But also, isn't Nashville something of a boom town, or no? Is that just a sort of like sense of a myth of the current city? And the district, of course, doesn't include much of Nashville or some of Metro Nashville, but isn't I know the Tennessee economy is, as you said, largely stagnant. But is Nashville a sort of an up and coming metro area, so to speak?
So Nashville, there's been a lot of transient movement in Tennessee. And so I think that's also something what a lot of like kind of the old guard and establishment don't understand is that the Trump era has ushered in this new wave of not only populism, but excitement and organizing and grassroots. And so a lot of people are moving to Tennessee because we don't have a state income tax. That's a conversation for another day. But we've, and they're moving to Tennessee in mass. And a lot of these are coming from Democratic states, but a lot of them are Republicans as well. So Nashville is kind of the economic hub of the entire state. And so the district does include a lot of the Black communities in North Nashville, and it kind of dips down. But of course, because of gerrymandering, they kind of took the best parts of each county and added it together. But the district is really rural. It's actually 70% under the age of 46, 70% women, 61% women, and 70% rural and ex-urban. So it is a really rural, but however, the urban density, a lot of those voters have, they turn out in mass, and those numbers can outweigh the rural communities.
Thank you. Jim Langford, you're up.
Yeah, hi. Now I'm in Florida, but I have a lot of family that live in the Nashville area. I was just going to say that I have a clone cousin who is in Nashville who will be very excited, and I'm going to call her this evening and talk to her about your campaign. And she's also a social worker. She worked uh, uh, with the judicial system there, basically for a while, as an advocate for spousal abuse and domestic abuse. And now she has her own nonprofit that she's working with called Strings of Hope. So basically, I'm going to tell her to look you up and start seeing if she's interested in working with you, because I think she would just absolutely go head over heels. So
Thanks, Jim. I really appreciate it.
you bet.
And up next is Stephen Valencia, who's one of our featured guests in the previous hour for the great contributions he made as an organizer for Jobs for Justice on Adelita Grijalva's campaign in Arizona 7. Stephen, yes, you're up.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, hi, Aftyn, Ben. I wanted to ask you, because I know that Volkswagen was trying to organize in East Tennessee, and I was wondering if anybody from the UAW, I mean, if you're getting help from the labor movement generally and UAW in particular, and whether you have run into the Southern Workers Assembly group down there, have you?
Yeah. Actually, the AFL-CIO bus tour stopped in Nashville on last Friday, and so I was there with the whole UAW gang. And it was just so empowering to be with our labor brothers and sisters. And so I think a lot of candidates don't come out of movement, they don't come out of labor. And for me, it's like we've been the best organizers, I think, come out of the South because the conditions are so oppressive and so tough. And so especially labor, we're in a right to work state. They de-incentivized companies from community benefits agreements. TVA is about to be privatized. So all of that Infrastructure Jobs Act, union jobs are going to be taken away. So things are pretty dire. But for me, it's always been about the working class, and and hopefully I will get the endorsement. I know there's a lot of processes, but I have been in contact with our labor folks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Tom Kriegel is a great economist and with a focus in his life's work on agrarian economics. So Tom Kriegel, you're up.
Thank you. Actually, my comment will be related to something other than my direct profession. I was surprised a few years ago to read that the sheriff of Davidson County, which encompasses Nashville and other areas, was apparently a very progressive-minded person committed to alternatives and diversions, that when the county wanted to build a new jail, he persuaded them to actually invest a lot of money in a treatment center instead. And that's not the part of the country where you would expect law enforcement to have that kind of attitude, but it's good to see that attitude anywhere that it does occur. And I don't know if you've had any interface with him, et cetera, or not, but sounds like a really good guy.
Yeah, he actually, his claim to fame is that he was on the board of the National Sheriff's Association during the first Trump administration, and he was the only one to walk out of the meeting, which I think is hilarious. And actually, I was in contact with him when the Nazis showed up in downtown Nashville. We had Nazis that stayed for over 4 weeks, July of last year, and I'm the elected official of downtown, and so I ended up meeting with him and tried to kind of pull him into our cadre of unlikely, anti-Nazi people. But I just want to use this moment to also talk about immigration in Tennessee. Sorry, Tom, to hijack but it is really important. So Nashville was able to fight off its 287G program. And so prior to April of this year, only 2 counties, because we had 3, Nashville got rid of theirs, 2 counties had their 287G program. And unfortunately, over the past few months, Tennessee has gone so far right. They appointed an immigration czar. They passed a slew of immigration bills during our special session that would make it a Class E felony for a local elected to vote for a sanctuary city policy. They want to throw our elected folks in jail. And since that passed, over 15 counties have registered 287G programs across our state. So our immigrants are under attack, and things are not getting better, which is also one of the reasons I'm running, is because immigrants are not the reason your grocery prices are high, and immigrants are the backbone of our economy, and should be treated as such. So I just wanted to give some light as to the situation in Tennessee. Thanks, Tom.
In fact, I can't help myself but say immigrants are the reasons your grocery prices are affordable. To Cecilia Valdez, wait one second, because Aftyn seems a little bit distracted.
No, we're good. We're back.
Cecilia Valdez is the head of the AFL County Federation of Labor in Pima County, Arizona, which is where Tucson is located. So Cecilia Valdez, meet Aftyn Behn.
Hi, Aftyn. How are you? So glad that you're with us, and thank you for running, because it takes a lot. I wanted to tell you that we also are a right to work state. And have you reached out to the maybe they have the Central Labor Council, or they might have, so are they involved in your campaign?
Yeah, we don't have, unfortunately, resources. I would love to have, a model of non-scarcity, but the labor unions often, especially in competitive primaries, they often don't endorse because they want to save all their money for the general. So I hope to get the AFL-CIO endorsement after the primary.
Okay, great. How about Communication Workers of America? Because I'm with CWA.
Yes, and I got their endorsement during my state house race, and actually the head of the Tennessee chapter helped me write my labor policy, which I hope to debut this week.
Good. Thank you so much for sharing. Appreciate that.
Thank you for everything, Cecilia. You're the greatest. Dorothy Reich, you're up, and then Nasser, and then we're going to be rounding off very shortly after that. But Dorothy Reich, you're up. What's on your mind, Dorothy?
Yeah. Hi. I read that Tennessee has the lowest quality of life of all the states in the union. I was just wondering if Aftyn wanted to make a comment on that, and whether it will help her race or hurt her race, or what's going on there.
So, yes, USA Today ranked Tennessee as having the lowest standard of living. However, if you would ask my Republican counterparts, it's the kingdom of prosperity, and everything's great and everyone can afford. I mean, they have not addressed any working issues such as the affordability of life in terms of groceries, in terms of rent, in terms of, it is suffocating to live here under their version of what American prosperity is, which is codifying the will of the minority and selling out our state to the biggest companies you could possibly imagine, while the politicians rake in the cash. And so that is my messaging. It is one of economic populism, and it is one of, your life has not materially improved since the Republican supermajority took hold 15 years ago. And why don't you take one chance on this fiery petite blonde that wants to flip the table and uproot the system and make sure that everyone has a seat at the table, because everyone, and one of my campaign mantras is making living affordable and keeping communities safe. So hopefully I will be able to talk about that on the campaign trail.
Thank you. And Nasser Raza, please unmute.
Hi, this is Nasser Raza. I'm in Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona. I was a volunteer for Adelita almost daily, and probably knocked on 2,000 doors and in this heat. And to me, the grassroots is the real thing. Engage with at least 20 to 70% people at on every day, and connected with them. So one of my main issues for supporting Adelita was also her stance on the Palestine issue. Can I ask you, firstly, I want to really congratulate you and commend you because I'm really, really impressed with what you have said so far. But I'd like to hear your stance on the Palestine issue, if you may. Thank you.
Yeah, so this one's really because I want to talk about it in terms of the arc of my state legislative race. So I was just sworn in, and then October 7th happened, right? And I spent 3 weeks, meeting with stakeholders, trying to get to a place where I could release a statement, because my district is it's very progressive. But I look at this role that I hold right now in my state seat as providing a lot of political education to get people to come with me, right? We can't just force prison abolition. We can't just force these issues on people without providing the time and energy to get them to a place where they understand where we're coming from. So I will say that I was the only elected official in the state of Tennessee to publicly condemn what is happening, and have maintained that stance throughout. And I also worked for the UN. I moved after Trump was elected. And so I can say that, that this is an issue, that Israel is committing genocide, just based on what I know as working at the UN. And so, I think because this is an R+22 race, and you all, know this innately, the economic issues are what's going to drive it, but I will never sacrifice my progressive issues on this race, and moving forward. And, that's just how it's going to have to be.
Just to hear you say that, I'd like to come and volunteer for you, if I may, sometime.
I've always wanted to go to Nashville myself too, and I'm thinking about it as well. So Nasser, I'll see you there maybe. But I did want to ask you something. It's a little sticky, this question. You work for Indivisible as a statewide coordinator. Indivisible has been shy in its time about endorsing candidates. We obviously featured half of the more than half of the show today, still about half the show today, to a race where I'm not sure if they chimed in, but they really didn't lean into it. I mean, their emphasis right now is clearly on the No Kings demonstrations and stuff. So let me put it this way. We would love to partner with Indivisible in a full-on Indivisible drive to elect the progressive candidate in Tennessee 7. Can you make that happen for us? What are your thoughts on that?
So I will say, so when I was the Indivisible statewide organizer in 2018, I forced the primary endorsement of over 6 congressional candidates in the state and a gubernatorial candidate. It was the first time that there was that progressive of a slate nominated by Indivisible, and I worked my ass off. I worked with the groups. I got them to a place where they could get there. So I know what's possible, and I do know that our groups are in communication with National Indivisible. I hope that because I'm a prodigal daughter of the ecosystem, that they would get involved in this race, knowing that it is a referendum on the big bullshit bill, and that it's a precursor for how Democrats do in midterms 2026. Everyone will be watching this race. Everyone wants to. In fact, I went to DC last week and enticed the D trip to get involved. This has to be an enticing race. We have to get everyone involved, and including y'all. And I know that y'all are holding the forefront in the progressive trenches. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and you probably weren't out I know you weren't out for the top of the show, but one of the things that we achieved in AZ7, that yes, is more easy for us to achieve in special elections, which are isolated, but compared to the way that primaries are dotted around the calendar, we have a model that's very, very, very similar to what DSA did in New York City. And the PDA model is very analogous to that. It's very much grassroots. It's people-oriented. It's mobilizing people. So we would love to partner with Indivisible in Tennessee 7 and in so many other races around the country, partnering with their base and using the PDA model. So just a thought there, plant the seed. And Melissa Richardson, a great activist in Arizona, has a question.
Hello, everybody. I would just like to say thank you for having me. And I was just wondering to both people that are on the Zoom, what are we gonna do about the big bullshit bill and the disability rights for the candidates that are speaking today? Because as you know, the big bullshit bill cuts out the care for the elderly and the disabled. So how do you fight against that? And when do we start volunteering? Because I signed up.
Let's go. Well, I also, the disability community is so near and dear to my heart. I'm a social worker, as you all know. And I mean, I'm gonna start, but Medicaid is a lifeline for so many of our communities. There's so many constituents that I've had to deal with being kicked off. There are families of kids with severe disabilities that can't work and are having to deal with these work requirements. These are real life issues of which people will die. Medicaid is responsible for 60% of the nursing homes in the state of Tennessee. This is going to, it's going to pay people. And that's why I think is like the sense of urgency that I feel right now with this race, and making sure that this race is a referendum on the big bullshit bill, and that people know the American people will not stand for this at the ballot box. So just know I'm very grateful that you brought that up, and know that this race will be a referendum on that and how it's going to impact our communities with disabilities.
Your final thoughts, but before that, one final question for me, which is, you know infinitely more about how to message the people of Tennessee. I certainly believe that for the vast majority of the people of Tennessee, 95% maybe, the Sanders policy agenda, the PDA policy agenda would be beneficial for their lives versus what Trump has on offer, or for that matter, neoliberal Democrats, neoliberal Republicans. So moderate Democrats, center right, center left people. How is that best conveyed to the people of Tennessee, that we have an economic package that is better for their livelihood? They should come to us and be with us, because I know very little about communicating with the people of Tennessee.
So I want to frame this question in terms of what we've learned after Nazi Germany, and that when they interviewed, and these were peripheral Nazis, right? These weren't like ride or die. They weren't in the hierarchy, but these were people who joined the Nazi party in rural Germany. And when they were interviewed 10 years after Hitler died, they said Hitler wasn't the problem. It was the oligarchs around him, right? And in Tennessee, I think it's a really important framework because Trump is so lauded, and people, the American populace don't want to feel like they've been scammed, right? And so you've really got to think through, what is that messaging? And oh, thank you, thanks, Gloria. What is that messaging that you're able to kind of do I'm sorry, there's this like what?
Oh, no, it's no problem. Go ahead.
How are you going to message to a populace that has been scammed, right? That has been fed a lie. And how are you going to plant the seeds? And I've really seen this work in the Tennessee legislature, where, trust me, like 80% of our legislature are Christian nationalists. Okay, like it is, and they wear it with pride. And what I've seen work is that you plant seeds of dissonance. All right. And so, and with this woman that I met, this constituent is a Trump supporter, the question I left her with was, I want you, who has to benefit from you thinking that illegal immigrants and trans kids are the reason your grocery prices are high, or the reason that you're struggling to afford your mortgage right now? Who seeks to benefit from you thinking that that's the biggest issue in your life? And just planting that seed. And that's what I hope to do on this campaign is, you know, we're going to have to do kind of mass deprogramming on a level, right? But you don't want to further alienate and say, you know, I hope you get what you voted for, right? Because people have to be suffering in a state like Tennessee, where everyone is poor, everyone is broke, everyone is struggling. That messaging doesn't work. So that's what I hope to do on the campaign.
Well, thank you so much. Look, I think I speak for probably most everybody, from everything I can see from the chat and all the questions. Your energy is incredibly magnetic, and we just very much look forward to working with you. We'll go through a formal process. You'll get a campaign questionnaire from us, I think within no more than 2 weeks, maybe a week's time. I think it's supposed to be done by August 1st. So, you know, obviously we're updating our 2024 for 2026, and we probably won't send you one before then, but then very quickly we'll turn it around. We do have a grassroots up process for an endorsement, but I'm pretty confident that this is going to fly through. So look, thank you so much. And final thought for everybody in PDA land.
Just that, please don't write off the South. I mean, as W.E. Du Bois said, as goes the South, so goes the nation. What changes here changes the world. We are under the most tyrannical, oppressive conditions you could possibly imagine. However, as you all know, our conditions have been much worse during American slavery, Reconstruction, and the Civil Rights Movement. And so I really look at this moment as thinking about, what ancestor do I want to be? What ancestor do I want to be in this moment for so many of the kids and youth that have joined our campaign and are excited about this race? So we've got to get out there. We're going to flip this. We're going to flip Congress, and then we're going to usher in a new wave of American prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you. You rock so much. Thank you so much, Aftyn Behn. And I especially want to thank Cecilia Valdez, who's still with us too, and Stephen Valencia is still with us. But this wraps up our town hall, folks. So Cecilia and Stephen, maybe quick final thought from either of you. Cecilia first, if any final message of solidarity, take it away.
Well, I want to first of all thank you for giving me the opportunity, the space to share with you my perspective of what's happening in CD7 here for Adelita Grijalva, and also to let you know that we're all stronger together when we stick together and when we address the issues that really are close to our heart and really affect us. And thank you for the way to gracefully ask people to come back to us by not saying you get what you voted for, because we have to allow them to come back gracefully and not shame them. So I totally agree with you. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, you two and Stephen Valencia, y'all are amazing organizers and activists. Stephen Valencia, your final thought.
The only thing I want to say is that I'm really happy with people like Aftyn, Behn, and Adelita Grijalva, and I think that PDA, with the army of people that you have collected here, I think that we can move mountains here and move history in a good direction.
Oh, thank you so much, Stephen Valencia. Well, with that, we're at the point in the town hall where I close out and I hand off to Mike Fox. If people want to stick around, we call it family time. I actually been away from the call because I go to hang out with my family. And Mike Fox, take it away. And I, of course, have to put a ribbon and bow on the recording. So I'll say thank you for everybody for joining us on this PDA Town Hall. We'll be back next week, Sunday again at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific for another PDA Town Hall. I want to thank, of course, our special guests, Adelita Grijalva and Aftyn Behn, but also Cecilia Valdez, Christian Bearden, Maggie Acosta, and Stephen Valencia. And a special shout out to Mike Ollis and to Paul Stapleton Smith, Dan O'Neill for helping set up this town hall. We'll see you again next week. Thank you, everybody. Mike Fox, take it away for family time.